A few weeks ago, I panicked and said we were in the home stretch of spring training. We weren't. We are now. This is it. The final week, the home stretch, and there's big news on the pitching front as the Rangers have signed a pitcher to a major league contract. We've got the story coming next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Let the final countdown begin as the Rangers are getting ready to come home. And of course, we're all familiar with what has been happening with the pitching staff. So we start the show, the DLLS Rangers podcast, with good news. The Rangers have signed Patrick Corbin to a major league contract to make room for him on the 40-man, as well as the active roster, no doubt. They have moved John Gray to the 60-day disabled list. And, of course, they'll address that when that needs to happen. But in the meantime, they have another pitcher in camp. Jeff Wilson has joined us via the vehicle there in Arizona right now. They got the Prophet here. He's done heroic work all day as we try to get Jeff's feed up and running. It's been one of those days for the DLLS Rangers podcast. I think it was the wind here in Dallas that delayed Jeff tremendously. So he's just now landed, gotten in the rent car, and he's feverishly driving over to see if he can get the final word from Bruce Bochy today before tonight's game begins and hear what Boch thinks about Patrick Corbin. But under any circumstance, this is good news, as Corbin is a guy who is absolutely a workhorse, Jeff. This is a guy who started 32 games for the Nationals last year. He started 170 games for the Nationals between 2019 and 2024. That's third most starts for any pitcher during that stretch in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, well, John, he has been durable, but these are some new circumstances he's coming into. You know, he hasn't had spring training, and so you wonder when he's going to be ready. You know, it took Michael Lorenzen, when the Rangers signed him late last spring, 3 rehab starts at AAA before they felt good about it. How much time is Mike Maddox going to have to get his hands on Corbin? But the durability is a positive because the Rangers don't have durability right now. But if we're being honest, that's probably the nicest thing you can say about Patrick Corbin since 2020. His ERA has been above 5, even above 6 at times. He's given up a ton of home runs, a ton of hits. So I guess he throws strikes. I don't know. I feel like without hearing what the front office has said about the signing, this one feels like a little bit of a reach. Though the Rangers did want a left-hander. They talked about Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, but they wanted a different look. Left-hander is definitely a different look, and so Corbin's the guy. Jordan Montgomery hasn't pitched well this spring. I don't know if anything got down the road with him there with the Diamondbacks. So, hey, he's the guy. He's going to be in the rotation at some point. That doesn't mean that it's going to last forever. If Jack Leiter is very, very good to start the year, he's going to probably stay in the rotation. And Kumar Rocker, wherever he ends up, and now looks like AAA, if he's good at AAA, well, he could really pretty quickly be in the rotation, it would seem like. So, but yeah, Corbin's a guy who, his seasons in 18 and 19, if you go back and look at those, were fantastic. Just fantastic. He pitched well in the postseason too. So he's an experienced guy. Again, like you said, he's a durable guy. We just got to see what magic Mike Maddox can work to see if Corbin can improve upon what he did in the last few years.
Yeah, certainly see if you can take him back in time, right? A bit of a time machine to 18 and even 19. He was getting Cy Young votes. He finished 15th, or 5th, I should say, in the Cy Young voting in the National League one of those years. And, of course, he closed out that victory, that Game 7 victory for the Nationals in the World Series in 2019. So that experience that you're talking about, Jeff, spans sort of every aspect of Major League Baseball and beyond that, every aspect of what the Rangers hope to accomplish this year. And certainly that experience is the best teacher.
Yeah, he'll know his way around the lineup. He can navigate. Um, you know, he won't panic when he gets in trouble. And yeah, maybe the bigger the stage, the better for him. It's not like the Nationals have been a great club since they won the World Series in '19. They've been pretty bad. Let's just be honest. They've been bad. So maybe some of those runs, if we're trying to be fair, defensive plays that didn't get made that ordinarily would get made, that allowed us an inning to snowball, something like that. And maybe some of it was, and this might not be a good thing, but maybe he felt hopeless out there and tried too hard, or whatever it is. I'm making excuses for the guy I've never met before, but if you look at last season, his numbers improved in the second half. It was marginal, but he walked fewer guys and struck out more guys. He had a really nice August with an ERA below 3. So maybe he had stumbled on something last year that worked or that the Rangers like and think he can recapture here. Maybe it's the use of a pitch more often or different situations. That might be a magical elixir. But we're going to find out because you give a guy a big league contract. You don't do it to send him right to the minors. Now I say that he may end up like Michael Lorenzen got sent to the injured list last year to start the season with a neck strain. Put air quotes around neck strain. He wasn't hurt, all right. Or I guess he had a little discomfort. It was good enough to get him on the injured list and give the Rangers an excuse to go get him some rehab starts, essentially, some starts in the minors without having to play a man short. So they'll figure something out. But I would be very surprised if Patrick Corbin is on the opening day roster.
Yeah, and the reality is that this is another example, though, of we talked about it all the time. Those sort of other things that the Rangers front office and really all front offices, right? The other arrows that they have in their quiver, things we hadn't even thought about. They've thought about, they've looked into, and today, they pulled the trigger on this one, as you mentioned, Jeff, for a lot of reasons. Perhaps foremost among them is that left-handedness.
Yeah, that was aside from being good. I mean, Cody Bradford was left-handed, and it gave a different look. The Rangers, Mike Maddox believes in that. I think Bruce Bochy does too. Having at least one guy that's going to give a team a different look in a series. Okay, so you're going to have 4 right-handers. That's still probably one more than the Rangers would like, but this is the situation they're in. It beats 5, and what it does now is it kind of puts some guys you might have had questions about in the rotation and puts them in the mixer of the bullpen. I think Dane Dunning's going to be on the team in the bullpen. I do think Jack Leiter's on the team as a starting pitcher. And then, so what do you do with that last spot? Well, the Rangers like Patrick Murphy, they like Adrian Hauser, and they like Caleb Bosley. It looks like Bushley, but apparently it's pronounced Bosley. They like him. So there's some guys right there that are going to be able to give you some innings and in relief because they know that they need that now. And then again, to start the season if Corbin, as I'm expecting, doesn't start on the opening day roster, then maybe you can carry two of the three of those guys. It'll work itself out. We'll be worked out here soon, probably this week. But I really think Hauser has an excellent chance of being on the roster.
Yeah, and it begs the question, and you've talked about it a couple of times. Natalie asking already though in the chat, does this mean that Jack Leiter won't make the opening day roster, or is he in the bullpen? Look, it seems that under any circumstances, Jack Leiter makes the opening day roster, and it's likely because, as Jeff is saying, Patrick Corbin is very unlikely to be ready to start a game in the first week of the regular season, basically 2 weeks from right now. So therefore, they'll have to start the season, Jeff, essentially with what we kind of thought they would as of yesterday, and then they'll have Patrick Corbin to be able to utilize as a piece, whether it be in long relief or whether it be as a starting pitcher. He has done very little other than start. 342 appearances, 324 of those in his long big league career have been starts.
Yeah, but before last night when I was getting ready for this show and had a couple conversations, I was told flat out that Jack Leiter is going to be on the team. It makes it sound like he's definitely going to be in the rotation. Dunning is going to be on the team even though he hasn't pitched well. They know that he's done it before, and they're kind of betting on track record, I think. But again, and if let's say Corbin does start on the open day roster somehow, he's not going to be throwing more than 3 innings you'd expect. So you're going to need somebody who's stretched out behind him who can come in and give you 4 or 5 innings, or it probably wouldn't be that many. But I think that's where you see Adrian Hauser. Really, I think it'd be an upset if Adrian Hauser's not on the opening day roster. The guy's just done it before. He's pitched in relief and started. He's had a nice spring. The Rangers like him. He's got a great track record in his career. He's been a really good starting pitcher before. So if Corbin does start in the minor leagues, then I would think Hauser would be a guy under serious consideration to be in the rotation until Corbin's ready.
Yeah, and those are all the things that are that the Rangers are trying to decide this final week, which obviously indicates that there are lots and lots of decisions to make in the final week of this spring training, including about some of those people, Jeff. We've both heard that, Dane Dunning, unlike Jack Leiter, is not necessarily a lock to be on the opening day roster at this point.
I think, based on the conversations I had last night, I think he is.
Okay.
He hasn't pitched great, and that was acknowledged. But he's on the 40-man roster. That might be a saving grace, honestly. The Rangers need guys who they can option, and it might be Dane, but also they remember 2023 and how versatile he was and how well he pitched for them, and he is healthy and he's getting back to the delivery that he had in 23 that for some reason he didn't have last year. So maybe things will be improving. He pitched Friday, so he'll probably pitch tomorrow, or maybe they hold him back till Thursday in the split squad situation. But he's a guy. He's going to be on the roster.
All right. Well, that's good. That's good news for Dane, and I think his experience at doing this dual role is good news for the Rangers because he did it very well in 2023, and we all know how that season ended as well. So there is lots more to talk about, though, about this final week of spring training. We'll get to that with Jeff next. Also, one Ranger at least is in among the best players in the game. I think you know who it is, but we'll show you the list in just a few minutes here on the DLLS Rangers podcast. First, though, let's talk about Sleeper, which is Jeff's very favorite app. And I was looking at Sleeper today because I decided it's time for me to start getting ready for my baseball picks. I intend to make those. Of course, Sleeper is a great app for daily picks, and you should avail yourself to this wonderful app and this wonderful opportunity to make any pick for any game and any player that you would like to make. You can parlay them. You can put three together. They're really good about giving you what Jeff essentially calls free picks, right? Where they'll give you your money back even if you get the pick wrong. So it's enticing. It's a great thing to do, and it makes the game super fun. So go to sleeper.com and use the code DLLS Rangers. What they will do is give you a $100 first deposit match, and that will get you started. You'll have basically, you put in 100, you'll have 200 to play with when you get started on Sleeper. Also, Saturday Neon. Now this is something that we all need to do, especially during the NCAA basketball tournament when college basketball is so top of mind. That means colleges are so top of mind, and that's what Saturday Neon is all about. They have 50 colleges and universities that are aligned with their product, and they make neon signs that say the name of your favorite college or university. There are 50 that are aligned with Saturday Neon right now, and we encourage you to go to their website as well and figure out if your favorite school is there, or maybe just the school you've picked to win it all on your bracket. Either way, you can find them at Saturday Neon, and they will also cut you a deal. They give you 10% off at Saturday Neon if you use the code DLLS. So it's the final week of spring training, and that's always an important week for a few players. This year, it seems like it may be more important for maybe a few more players for the Rangers this year, because there's a lot to be decided. Obviously, most of it on the pitching front. But as we bring Jeff back in, and you see the lovely, that's probably a little easier than watching Jeff drive. I'm like cringing every once in a while, going, God, I hope he's okay over there. But stay safe, Jeff, and let's talk a little bit about the priorities of this final week of spring training. I mean, pitching is always the priority. What else stands out, though?
I am being safe now, and I'm about a quarter mile from the field, so I think I can make it. And if not, there's a fire department right here with paramedics. So, but yeah, some priorities. You have to clean up center field. That's the one that has to be figured out. Is Evan Carter going to be your everyday guy? How did Leody Taveras improving his left-handers? Does Kevin Pillar need to be on this team? I would say no, yes to those questions. Which probably spells bad news for Ezekiel Duran, with Josh Smith being the backup at first base. And Jock Peterson, but I think they want him to be kind of strictly a DH. And then that's it. You got the bullpen, as we talked about. Will have there'll be a domino effect in the bullpen based on what happens in the rotation. But the Rangers haven't budged from their plan to go with a bullpen by committee. So it's looking like it could be Chris Martin. He still seems to be the favorite. Whether there's a ton of merit behind that, or if that's just projections from the media, I don't know. I really think Luke Jackson's been terrific. I would like to see Luke Jackson get some opportunities, and think he will. He's just been throwing the ball well. He's been working on a cutter, just something else to get hitters off his scent, I guess. But it's pretty interesting. You need to figure out if, is Robert Garcia definitely healthy? It appears that he is. Just kind of dotting some I's and crossing some T's. You'd like to see Holby Milner improve. You'd like to see Sean Armstrong improve this last week. See if they can come up with some kind of um, formula to have a clean inning. And then you do wonder, does Mark Church have an opportunity? I don't think so. I think the Rangers are going to play it safe with him. He's not hurt, but he's only pitched one time in his career on consecutive days, and it was last spring training. All right, so here's a guy who you need to protect, and who will be up soon. I would think he will continue to work, probably with more frequency at AAA. And I've had one person say he could be pitching the ninth inning when he does get up. So those are really, they're not minor by any chance. It's it's a big deal, not
Sure.
knowing who's in your rotation and who's in your bullpen at this point in spring training. The Rangers aren't the only ones, and the center field thing's a big deal. But um, that's all that's left, though. That's what they can focus on.
Yeah, and so each one of the guys who are in the bullpen right now, basically each of the new men, basically know that the closer position has not been officially set yet. Each has expressed their desire to be a part of the conversation and the competition for being closer. We've all kind of, as you said, Jeff, abdicated it to Chris Martin. But how does that look, do you think, at the start of the year? Does Boch go at the beginning of the year and say, you know what, we're going to give it to Chris Martin for now? Or does he try different guys on different days? It doesn't appear that anybody has sort of, established themselves even as we've gone through this much spring training.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find anything wrong with what Chris Martin and Luke Jackson have done this spring. Um, Jacob Webb is another guy, changeup guy. He's good against left-handers, and Garcia. Everybody thinks he could be a closer at some point in his career. He had that health setback early on, so you'll see guys this week who will go back to back, kind of the last thing that relievers have to do. And you wonder if Garcia will be in that group. And if he's not, that kind of tells you how he'll be used the first week. But I think, if the Rangers have let's say a lead after 6 and they need 3 relievers, I think they would use a combination of 4 guys. They would use Garcia, Webb, Jackson, or Martin. I would think, at this stage. I think those are the guys who perform the best and would be the high leverage winning situation guys, with Milner and Armstrong maybe pitching. If it's the games, they got to keep the game close type of thing, and you don't want to use your leverage guys at that point. So I think the 4 guys I mentioned, Garcia, Webb, Jackson, Martin, will be in the mix for save chances in the first week. But like we've said before, Bruce Bochy's first managerial job, he had Trevor Hoffman as his closer. He really likes having one guy. There's no, they don't have a Hall of Famer in camp, but um, just having one guy just settles everything down. It allows everybody else to know what their roles are. They don't have to be sitting on edge and not knowing when they're going to pitch. Um, so we'll again, as I always say, we'll see. But I think that those 4 guys will be
Yeah.
leverage situations.
Sure. Yep. They'll all be the ones that are, decided between. And the way Boch appears to have done this in the past couple of years, because it seems to always be a question mark, has been, you got a shot at it until you aren't getting it done any longer. And then we give somebody else a shot. Of course, they didn't have to go far beyond Kirby Yates last year. And Kirby Yates grabbed the bull by the horns and did a great job. The neat thing about this year's competition, if you will, is it seems like that Chris Martin would be the first in line, and Luke Jackson, as you mentioned, Jeff, would likely be second in line. And Jackson is he's almost like a Yates protege at this point. They're good friends. They were teammates, and Luke has already said he would love to replicate and sort of do what Kirby did here.
Yeah, very, very similar situations. Like
both in their second year coming off of Tommy John when they come to the Rangers. Um, they don't have electric overpowering stuff, but they're veterans and they know how to get things done. And yeah, Luke. Of course, this was the team that drafted him, and so he feels at ease. He knows the area, the surroundings. You can tell I'm back in surprise because there's a fighter jet flying overhead. Um, it's just a good situation for Jackson, and really, he's just come in and it's like he was here all spring. He's pitched so well. Whether it's been in a minor league game, or whether it's been in an A game in the Cactus League scenario, it's just been really good. There's no other way around it, and so that's a good sign. He feels good about his health. He also had a little back issue too that he feels good about now. So I think he's pretty dialed in, and expect to see him in the eighth or ninth inning once the season starts.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It looks like it would likely be him and or Chris Martin in those final two high leverage spots in the bullpen, but time will tell, as we always say, or as we say a lot, certainly this time of year, no doubt about that. Jeff, one other thing that I don't guess is decided as much necessarily in spring training, but it's a question that hangs over the team, and we speculated about about Ezekiel Duran, who we both really love, but we speculated about him perhaps being an odd man out. I think even before the Rangers had acquired Kevin Pillar, assuming he is, there's still that issue, that conundrum of figuring out a way to get Josh Smith the at bats that he needs to be and has earned, frankly. But these young guys need fairly consistent at bats in order to be the hitter, the offensive player that they can be.
Yeah, and I don't know. That's that's why Bruce Bochy is going to the Hall of Fame, and I was stuck at an airport for 4 hours waiting for my flight to get fixed. So I think that I think. Hang on a second. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
No
We
worries.
I don't know. This guy's seen me all spring, and he finally checked my ID. Anyway, whatever.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Josh Smith will be the DH, or will play when Jock Peterson sits, probably against a lot of left-handers. It's looking like um, you may see early on. You may see Josh Young and Corey Seager get some days off. Try to keep these guys fresh as long as you can. And Josh has played everywhere this spring. He's played right field, center field, left, first, short, and third. He could probably play second if he can handle those three infield spots. So I think that I don't know how many days off Marcus Semien will get, but if he's off, then Josh Smith is going to be your guy. Um, they want to get him at bats, but gosh, it's just going to be tough. I mean, if you if you run into a team that has or a series with three left-handers, and then the next series it's three left-handers or right-handers, I don't know when you're going to see him play. Really, it's
Yeah.
going to be hard. But the Rangers loved the at bats last year. He was an on base guy. He showed more power, I think, than people thought he had. So um, they're gonna they're gonna find a way. It's just gonna be tough.
So in those conversations that you had yesterday, that there were some definitive word. Did the name Evan Carter come up? He may have been a bit of a question mark, but lately he's been hitting the ball harder and not looking as tentative at the plate. But what did you hear in those conversations about Evan?
Yeah, yeah. They still want him to get at bats, and it has been better. And he has been playing a lot. And you would expect that again for a guy who barely played last season and barely has any major league experience that he was going to encounter these problems. Bruce Bochy has said multiple times that he's not surprised by it. But it is getting better. So that's a positive. It's not like the Rangers don't have three decent options. I mean, yeah, Leody Taveras, if you guys remember, 2023 was a hell of a player. He led the American League in batting average in May of 2023. All right, this guy's got tools and he's got ability. It's just a matter of him finally putting it all together, and it just hasn't been easy for him. Pillar's the veteran. I still think you're going to run into some 40-man issues. What are you going to do with if you have, you already put John Gray on the 60, which happened today. You're going to put Jose Corniel on the 60, so there's a spot. How many non-roster guys are you going to take? Are you going to take Millar, or Pilar and Hauser? Okay, so that's two. You got to find two roster spots. So it's it's going to be tricky, And I think we talked about this yesterday. When you raise the floor of your team, you start cutting guys who are really highly touted prospects and have a lot
Sure.
of ability. And you don't, they're those guys are under control. They're affordable. You don't want to just willy nilly up and cut them. You want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck, I guess.
Yep. No doubt about that.
Conscious about it spending in the CBT.
Sure. Yeah. And you damn sure don't
Go ahead,
want to
John.
throw out the baby, as the old saying goes, with the bathwater. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on all of those things. Next up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. And Jeff, let us know if you need to duck out. But next up, we'll talk a little bit about the opening game of the Major League season. Yes, it occurred early this morning. We'll talk about what happened in Japan next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. But first, we want to remind you about Rugged Road Coolers. They are the best, I promise you. Jeff will wish he had one there in Arizona for the next 4 or 5 days while he's there. The temperatures are picking up there. Heck, they're picking up here, too. It's just that the wind is so strong, it's hard to notice. But with those higher temperatures comes a greater need to stay hydrated. And with that need comes the need to get yourself a cooler full of cold drinks, water, sodas, power drinks, energy drinks, or beer. So get a Rugged Road cooler. I said beer quietly just because, but that might be always in mind somewhere. Get a Rugged Road cooler. They're made so well that you see the thing there. It's beautiful. The hardware is unbelievable. They don't break down. They open easily all the time. They have great hinges and they float. I mean, everything about this cooler is first class. It's worth every penny. Go to ruggedroad.com, use the code DLLS, and get 10% off your Rugged Road cooler. Game Time is one of my favorite apps because I'm checking it all the time. And check this out. I'm driving up today. I had a little issue with traffic on 35 myself, by the way, but I'm driving up and there's a big bus in front of me that says Game Time. I'm like, well, I'll be darned. Isn't that great? Game Time's advertising on buses now, too. It was Game Time, and then real small letters underneath it, it said transportation. And I'm like, well, good for Game Time that this bus is essentially advertising for them. Great ticket delivery system. They're delivered within 24 hours. They are awesome. They have a price guarantee. They have, if anything happens to the show, they give you your money back. I saw today they even have a thing if you lose your job, you can get your money back because you sometimes buy those tickets so far in advance. So use Game Time. It's just the best way to get your tickets. DLLS is the code. 10% to $20 off your first purchase is the deal. So, yes, the baseball season began last night. And if we're talking about the beginning of a baseball season or any athletic contest, if you don't mind, let's start with the national anthem. Generally not a big fan of the all-instrumental national anthem. That was absolutely beautiful. Not a boo in the house. It's that one, and then the saxophone one. I generally like fairly well as well. And then over at the ballpark, you get a guitar one every once in a while from our man Alan. So anyway, that was a great way to get things started in this game that was historic, right? Because it was the first time in Major League history that opening day, the first game of the season, pitted two pitchers of Japanese descent, two Japanese pitchers against each other, and they did not disappoint. The story of this game, Jeff, was pitching, as both of the starters, we worried and speculated some that, Yamamoto and Imanaga both would be, how stretched out can they be? But I think they performed very well, given the fact that, we're a couple of weeks before everybody else has to be ready to pitch in a game.
Yeah, it sure looked that way, and they probably would have continued pitching if it had been June, but what they did was it was excellent. And of course, they want to perform well in their home country and showing down against each other, former teammates in the World Baseball Classic. One note on that anthem, it reminded me of Van Cliburn in 1994 when he
Yes.
opened
Yeah.
the ballpark at Arlington with that beautiful anthem that so many people still remember and revere to this day, and with the rain and everything, and a cool deal there. But the fans, I'm sure, were excited that Otani did a little something, and they got their money's worth. And I know there's another game coming up tomorrow, and it'll be exciting too. It won't be anything like this with the Pokemon characters and all that stuff. But hey, you only get one opener, and you might as well do it big and do it right.
All right, so I'm glad you mentioned that the Pokemon thing. Prophet, do we have any of the picks on that deal? We're working. Look at, so they had I guess that's Piku or Pikachu. Is
Pikachu.
Pokemon, is he still big here? Pretty okay. Okay, and Jeff, you've got when my son was about Molly's age, he was really into it. But my son's 26 right now, so needless to say, he's not that into Pokemon. But is it is it a thing still in the States?
It's really taken off in the collectibles world. You can't go to a card show without having multiple tables of Pokemon cards, and they are great and authenticated, and some have gone for $1 million or in six figures. So yeah, they're a big deal right now, and some people who were only doing sports cards have started kind of dabbling a little bit into the Pokemon product. So, yeah, it's a big deal. It's probably a bigger deal now than it's ever been.
Yeah, and they did. That was a scene that was described basically to start the game. All of a sudden, a bunch of the Pikachu characters came waddling out in Major League uniforms, Cubs and Dodgers uniforms, waddled all the way across the field. And then for those who were around from the sellout crowd, at the very end, they waddled their way back out to center field. So it was definitely a player throughout the course of the game. And, the way I heard it described, Jeff, from some of the Japanese media was that trying to put Otani into perspective was that he is Jordan, Tiger, and Mike Trout all wrapped up into one. Oh, and they threw the Beatles in there too. Then the Beatles in there too. I guess Trout gets the nod because of the baseball thing. But, Jordan, Tiger, the Beatles, and Mike Trout all wrapped into one. And so I think it's obvious that, they are, as much as they enjoy all these other Japanese players who are there and it's all about Otani.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, the guy's phenomenal. He's a once in a lifetime kind of guy. The comparison, of course, is always to Babe Ruth, who pitched and but didn't probably, well, but Babe Ruth was such a huge icon back, in the 20s and 30s, and his name was used in World War II codes. There's still a candy bar named after him.
Yeah.
People know who Babe Ruth is. Well, people are going to know who Shohei Ohtani is for years and years and years in Japan, in the United States, but also in Japan. And so, um, that's pretty cool. I don't know that he necessarily is the kind of guy that wants to be adorned. Maybe he is, but it's important to Japan, and I think it's important for Japan to tell the world, hey, this is our guy, and he's awesome. In case you didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And he is certainly, he is the best. I mean, that's what you have to say about him right now. Prophet, do we have that, the picture of him in the lawn? Is that one over there? Okay. Let's look at this. Look, Jeff, you can't see it. I don't think you can. This
Oh,
is
I can see it. Yeah.
You can. Okay. Look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know where that is, but that's, crops and things like that. If you build it, they will come
Yikes.
type stuff.
And
That's
they got the dog
fantastic.
too. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fantastic.
yeah.
It looks just like him. And I'm glad that you mentioned that Baby Ruth, the candy bar, still named after Babe Ruth, because I saw you commenting on the Twitter machine yesterday about the Mr. Good bar. And may I just say
Fantastic.
to you, sir, may I just say to you, the Baby Ruth, it dwarfs the Mr. Good bar.
Well, all right, John. We'll have to fight it out next week. But
Yeah, that is.
Mr.
Come on.
Goodbar is my favorite. Now, of course, if you like Caddyshack, then a Baby Ruth plays a very big role in that movie.
Big
So,
role in Caddyshack too. That's right. So I'm a huge.
It has star power.
Yeah, I like the caramel that's up on that Baby Ruth too. So anyway, that'll be an argument for a different day. My bold proclamation that the Dodgers are not going to win the World Series this year is in trouble because they're undefeated. And I saw some service, Jeff, that said they're going to go 162-0. So if they do, man, I'm probably in trouble here. But BC, congratulations. Type in BC and let us know if you watched the game this morning. I was up when I got up. I just woke up, but I must admit, the first thing I did is go on over to the TV and see if I could check it out, Jeff. I got the last 2 outs of the game.
Well, I was awake as well to get ready to go to the airport, and then they didn't have it on anywhere at the airport, so I did not get to see any of it. I was just kind of following along on Twitter and everything, and so I'm 0 for 1 on my baseball viewership this year. But I will go out on a limb, John, and say that the Dodgers do not go 162-0.
Yeah,
All right, I'm going to go out there and say that.
Yeah, that one's not even working without a net, is it? That's good. I like that, though. You're out on that high wire, and I think that's
right, baby.
Probably a pretty good bet. Today's game, or I guess it's tonight. No, it's tomorrow. I don't know when the hell it is. It's today there, tomorrow for us. Is Roki Sasaki, and I think this is going to be. I don't think I'll set the alarm again, Jeff. You know what's funny? I did wake up at 5 a.m., but I went right back to sleep. But I won't set the alarm. And if I wake up at 5 tomorrow, though, I may tune in just to see how Sasaki does. I mean, this is a big ask for a guy who, just is vaulted onto the biggest stage and right back in his home country. Probably be a pretty good place for him to begin his major league career. But man, this is heady stuff.
It is, and and we don't know the things that went on with his club and how things ended. Although it doesn't sound like it was a great relationship at all. So you wonder if he'll feel anything. If he'll feel, he's a young guy. Yamamoto's not exactly old, but he's at least more experienced than Sasaki. So you wonder if he'll have any jitters or try too hard or anything like that to make an impression. But the guy's been pretty steely so far. Hasn't been a lot of activity over here in Glendale, but it's been really, really good. So I don't know. That is an interesting one. I could see it going either way. Honestly, I could see it being great or a disaster. Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt. We'll be keeping an eye on that. We'll let you know what we know and hear and see about that when we join you tomorrow. More coming up, though, on this edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast, as we will get to our cleanup segment and talk about several things, including a former Rangers son who's making some noise right now. It's next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. So this is my newest one. I believe it's branded as a Dallas Wings shirt on the AllCity store.allcitynetwork.com website. And I always love that it's like a victory green like the Stars use, and it pops off the Navy like that. So that's a really good choice, I think, for you as well, because then when you're walking down the street, people see you coming and they know who you're repping. And we would appreciate that if you would do it. They're great shirts. They're comfortable. They're easy to care for. They don't fade, as far as I can tell, in the wash. We've had ours for months now, and they seem to be holding up very well. So high-quality shirts that are fun and show off your allegiance to this new crazy little podcast network we have called DLLS. They've got some March Madness ones out now, too, so get those, and you can hunker down and throw on a hoodie or a T-shirt and watch basketball all day, Thursday and Friday, and then, of course, Saturday and Sunday. There's not much less. So store.allcitynetwork.com in order to get your merchandise from DLLS today. Also, become a diehard. I hate it if you missed the $36 special, but as we've said since the beginning, even the $80 or $79.99 normal price is so much cheaper than any place else that you can get the kind of content that you can get from DLLS. So every day the Rangers send out clips, and today there were basically only 2 local writers in the clips because there were only 2 writers writing about it. It was Evan from the Morning News, and it was Jeff from DLLS. These are the 2 places that cover this team locally on a daily basis. So please do yourself a favor. Become a diehard. Get all this stuff that's behind the paywall, not just for the Rangers, but for the Stars, the Mavs, the Cowboys, and eventually the Dallas Wings, too. All right, so it's time to get things cleaned up, and we've got a few things to run through here today as we remind you that tomorrow we intend to, we best laid plans, we intend to be back tomorrow at 1. I did think, Jeff, it was cool that you were at the airport that early today, considering then you had 4-hour wait.
I didn't find it very cool, John.
No, I guess not.
I didn't care. I didn't care for the experience.
No.
It was pretty funny because we got on the plane and everything was on time. We look out there and saw something kind of sticking up, and I was like, oh well, that doesn't look normal. Maybe it's just a flap or something. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. And next thing I know, there's a couple guys come up one of those one of those lifts to the wing, and they reach over, and the guy pulls out what I've been told is speed tape. I called it duct tape, but speed tape, which apparently is like super, sticky and all this stuff. And so they finished that. And we're like, all right, that's good. And then the pilot came on and said, well, we got something on the left wing too, and we're gonna have to get you off the plane for this one. So they took that plane out of commission, had to tow one over, and they towed it over, and we're like, all right, let's get on. And they're like, well, we got to clean it first. So it hadn't been cleaned. So anyway, it took a while, and even the flight I thought about getting on was delayed more than an hour. So not a good day to be coming to Phoenix, apparently. But
no, and
I
gotta believe that damn wind had something to do with it. Now we of course are getting new roofing anyway because of the hail, but I looked up at my roof today and the wind, and it literally looked like the inside of a piano. The shingles are just doing this. I'm like, oh man, that is not good. And thankfully, it's not raining, because I think when those shingles flap up, rain could get in. But it wasn't raining, but man, it was blowing. So I got to believe that had something to do with the wings as well. All right, so first thing we'll talk about is Paul Skeens, Jeff, in this cleanup segment. Skeens has added a new pitch. He calls it a splinker.
Yeah,
it's a splitter.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, a splitter and a sinker, which essentially, to me, I feel like they kind of do the same thing. But you also remember he's added a cutter since last season. So he's experimenting and fidgeting with it. And he said, in a story I saw about this, he said, I just think it's awesome. It's like I just love tinkering with things. And I guess when you have talent like he does, you tinker and then suddenly, you've got something that's essentially unhittable.
Yeah, well, these guys can all throw about 1,000 pitches. Nathan Eovaldi's up to six. Yu Darvish throws about 12 or 15. I
12.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And just all kinds of stuff. The one thing you worry about with like, somebody who tinkers too much is putting too much stress on his elbow. And Skeens is a big guy. I have no reason to believe that he's a blowout waiting to happen. But a split finger fastball puts stress on your elbow. I mean, there's just all these different grips and things and magical designs. As Keith Meister calls them, designer pitches. They're not good for your arm. So you hope that he's not taxing it too much because, like I always say, I want the best players on the field every time they can be on the field. It's not good for the game to have these great players miss a year or multiple years. In the case of Mike Trout, you want the best out there. Whenever, and I'm sure the commissioner feels the same way. Whenever his product's on TV, he doesn't want the Angels to be playing without Mike Trout or the Pirates without Paul Skeens.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And so Skeens, who was just burst onto the scene last year, will be the opening day starter for the Pirates this year. And of course, he wasn't on the he didn't break camp with the major league club last year, but got there as quick as he could, as they say, and then burst onto the scene. Here's another one too. I want to show you this video, Jeff, of the son of a guy we know well. Prophet's pulling it up now.
Hey, she say, do you love me?
The kid definitely looks familiar, although he's matured a lot more since the last time I saw him and filled out nicely. But
he has.
wow, yeah. I'm glad Prince's genes have found another body to keep that home run swing in baseball. That's pretty cool.
Boy, I mean that swing is amazing for a kid that age. And we remember the story, and I don't know that there was video of this one, but wasn't Prince 11 when he was hitting balls out of Tiger Stadium when his dad Cecil was still playing?
It seems like that was the case, or maybe a little older, but yeah, there has to be footage of it somewhere of a young Prince, who he was a little round at that time too, getting that ball out.
Yeah, it looks like this young man has stretched out a little bit, and we saw him around the clubhouse a lot. I mean, he was hanging around in the day with Adrian's son quite a bit.
Right.
So you've got a couple of kids who have grown up to be pretty good baseball players.
Yeah, and AJ's at the University of San Diego. He's a pitcher and a shortstop. Apparently, he's hitting 97 on the radar gun, and
Wow.
Adrian always had a big arm. And the thing that a lot of people said about Adrian with the way he threw, he'd plant his feet and then just whip it. He'd had some throwing issues earlier in his career, and he settled on that. Like Mitch Moreland has said it. Mitch Moreland said, I don't think I've ever caught Adrian Beltre's hardest throw. And what he did was impressive enough, but they thought there was some velo left in the tank just because of the way he fashioned his throws to help keep him accurate.
Yeah. So it was fun to watch those kids run around the clubhouse and be kids, and now it'll be fun to watch and see if either one or maybe both of them become big league players. Heck, who knows? Maybe big league teammates someday. So our top story on this day is the fact that the Rangers have acquired Patrick Corbin, and they've given him a major league contract, signed him to a major league contract, which in order to make room for him, they placed John Gray on the injured list. And, of course, there's an expectation or an ability, let's put it that way, that they could use the injured list, for Cody Bradford at some point, too, if they want to add somebody else. And, Jeff, that basically indicates that, I mean, obviously they had to do that to get him on the 40-man roster. But the fact that they gave Corbin a major league contract says a lot about what their expectations are. The expectations are that, in the short term anyway, maybe not the shortest, but in the short term, they intend to use him in some capacity at the big league level.
Oh yeah, and it may not be very good, and it may not last long, but kind of thinking about it a little bit more. I mean, again, this is a guy who has been passed over for weeks and weeks and weeks and months, trying to sign a major league contract. So maybe he has something he feels like he needs to prove, or maybe it set off an alarm that, hey, I've got to get better if I want to keep my career going. Those type of things. But on the John Gray front, clearly they think he's going to be out a while. They haven't done it with Cody yet. The 60-day, I guess, is still an option, but if there's an opportunity for him to get back sooner than 60, they don't want to do that. So Jose Corniel's the one though who will end up on the 60 when the need for a roster spot arises, and that need will be by opening day. So yeah, some news. There's always news with this team. It doesn't matter when it is. This team always finds its way onto the transactions wire, or does something that is newsy, and that's why DLLS is here 3 times. That's why next year, when we're a little more firmly planted with businesses and in the marketplace, why you and the Prophet will be out here next year. It's just going to be the beginning of a long, beautiful thing with DLS Sports, because
Yeah,
we're going to cover the news.
no doubt about it. That's what we're here for. We're here to cover it, and we're here to make sports more fun for you, which is exactly why we shall do this as one of the final things in this edition of the show. Prophet's got a video over here that I've been dying for all of you to see. The Kid walk-up song. First of all, that kids have walk-up songs in T-ball is amazing. Second of all, look at this little guy. Are you kidding me with this dance? Now, my thought was, and I showed this to my wife, I said, I promise you, a kid that dances this good cannot hit. But if I don't, right? Wouldn't you think this little guy, he's destined? Watch what he does when he gets up here. I figured he's destined for the theater or something like that. But man, little guy, first swing, bam! Look at there. This kid's got it all.
Hey,
he's a renaissance man.
I'm glad he ran to the right base.
Yeah, he did.
I'm glad he ran to first.
Yeah,
that's always important. You never know what you're going to get with the T-baller, but
yeah,
the walk-up music. I'm not taking anything away from this little guy, and it's T-ball and it's fun, but I don't like the walk-up music. I'm against it.
Do they have? They don't have any of that at Henry's games.
No.
Okay.
Henry's team doesn't, but the other teams do.
Oh, they do.
Henry's team has no walk-up music. Yeah, and I think that's kind of from the organization, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, I'm okay with
on
that
board
too.
With that one.
I'm okay with that too. That's a lot to ask a guy at a little league park to play walk-up songs and all that. So.
They bring their own speakers. They do it off their phone. They Bluetooth. I mean, it's
for God's sake.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah. All right. Who knew? There you go. But anyway, that kid's nailed it, mastered it. No doubt about that. It's Tuesday. So we leave you today with the Tony Tuesday of this week. Let God lead today. Remove yourself from the driver's seat and let God have the wheel. He will take you exactly where he can use you or bless you. Don't be discouraged by life's hardships. It's usually that place where you find your greatest strength. Win your day. Tony Tuesdays. And it was the hardship of the 4-hour wait, Jeff, that landed you right where you need to be today. Look at that.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do after we talk to Bruce Bochy? I'm going to go find me some Tony Beasley. My day could use some Tony Beasley. So I'm going to go and make sure I say hi to Bees and get a handshake and make sure he's doing all right. And then we'll have a baseball game tonight. It's on TV. right?
Yeah, it is.
Tonight's
Oh,
on TV. Mike Bassick, right here. Here you
look
go.
there's Mike
There
Bassick
you
right
go.
now. Fantastic. Good to
There he
see
is.
Mike.
Yep.
We'll look forward to seeing him on TV tonight, as well as the new Rangers Today program that's on at 7:30 tonight. So check that out, Jeff. We'll talk to you again tomorrow at 1 o'clock our time, and we look forward to that. Enjoy baseball today, and we'll see you tomorrow on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.